Good evening, everybody. I'm glad to have you back and thank you for being here. Number one, big thanks to all of the members who are supporting this channel. I appreciate you guys so much. You are a huge driving force in what I do. So, number one, thank you. Number two, the topic tonight, avoidant men. Will he hurt you? Separating ethical avoidant people from manipulative avoidant people, because there is a giant difference, you guys. It is not the same. They are not the same kind of people. They are vastly different. And I want you to be able to separate them out, number one, so that you're safe. Also, number two, I want the world to separate them out so that the majority of good avoidant people are not getting demonized and not getting treated like they are monsters, because they are not. They are wonderful human beings. I had a client not too long ago that came in and they had an avoidant sort of ex. And their avoidant ex, they were in a situationship for quite some time. But their avoidant ex was love bombing them, just saturating them with it. And the thing was, their avoidant ex didn't realize. Okay, they did not realize, the avoidant person in this case. They turned out to be an ethical avoidant, but they thought that this relationship was a comfortable, honest, above the table exchange of dopamine between two people. They thought it was a very comfortable, casual relationship. They told them right up front that that's what they were looking for. But here's the problem: is that most avoidant people, they have that block on their oxytocin receptor sites that we've talked about before. I know you guys have you've seen me in previous videos, the biochemistry of avoidant attachment style, what avoidantly attached men need to be happy. You've seen those videos. You know that cortisol goes onto the receptor sites of the oxytocin receptors, blocks it. You can't receive that oxytocin bonding. You know this now, right? And I hope you do. If everybody who's here and new on the channel, now you know. But this is why avoidantly attached people don't experience the same emotional, intimate bonding that the average person does. So the ethical avoidant people out there, they don't realize that when they are giving you feelings, affection, warmth, when they say something in the heat of the moment, to them it's dopamine. It feels really good. And to them it heats up the relationship. They don't realize they are forming a deep hormonal bond with you and that you're experiencing a deep hormonal bond. They don't get it. So ethically avoidant people will tell you up front what they typically want and what they don't. They'll put the boundaries on it, but they don't understand that you're bonding with them. They don't. So you can still accidentally have your feelings hurt by an ethically avoidant person, not because they're playing games and devious, but because they don't realize that that experience is going to hurt you. And many of them are horrified when you do. The client that I had, they went and confronted the person and said, I had these thoughts, I had these feelings, and this made me it really hurt my feelings that this relationship, I thought that I had meant more to you. And the person said, well, I'm really sorry. I had actually no idea that you were bonding to me in that way. Now here's the funny part: this wasn't just one client. I've actually had 3 clients in the last 2 weeks that have all had this exact same experience, men and women who have had a partner. They were in a casual relationship that developed into something more because they thought their partner was giving them love signs and affection and oxytocin bonding. And it sparked that in them. All 3 cases, when they confronted that partner about that and said, I have these feelings, but it seems I don't know what to do about it. The partner said, I am so sorry that I made you feel that. That's not what I wanted. And I didn't want you to feel hurt at all. They were horrified. Okay. Step 1, separating an ethical avoidant from a manipulative avoidant. An ethical avoidant will actually be really, really sorry and sad that they have made somebody else feel something negative. You don't get, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. It's, wow, I am really, truly sorry that that hurt you in that way. I had no idea. And if I did, I absolutely would not have done it that way. And they mean it. Okay. Ethically avoidant people. That's the case. Hey, everybody over in chat, checking in. Hawk, great to see you. Sahara, great to see you as well. Wonderful. Vic Masker, welcome back. Thank you for becoming a member last night. I appreciate you. Sarah, glad you're here as well. It seems they don't have the same feeling of missing someone. Yeah, they don't have the oxytocin craving, right? An oxytocin craving for that person, but they do miss people. It's just that they don't have that experience. Diane, glad to see you in here. Welcome as well. Happy you're here. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to all my members. Welcome everybody else as well. So glad that you are here. This is wonderful. Can you talk about women that are avoidant? I can talk about both tonight. Men and women can both do this. So ethically avoidant men and women, they primarily, here's the difference, you guys, okay? When you have avoidant attachment style, and you've heard me talk about this on many, many videos, but for those who are brand new, welcome back. And for the thousands of you watching the replay, I can't believe how many of you guys watch this replay, and I'm grateful for it. So thank you. Avoidant attachment comes from in childhood, the experience of not receiving secure, consistent, reliable, right, predictable love from other people. But instead, those other people are arbitrary about rules. They are emotionally all over the place, emotionally dysregulated. The other people make their feelings your problem, or the other people don't give you warmth or affection. They are very distant. Typically, something has happened that breaks your trust in other people. Avoidantly attached people don't trust other people. Now, that ranges from other people are simply not regulated. They get stressed. They do foolish things. So I'm just going to keep them away. That's all, so that we don't hurt each other. To other people are horrific nightmares, and they'll do anything they can do to get to me and take from me. So I just have to do less awful than they would do, and I'm a good person, right? This is the spectrum of avoidant attachment style. Most ethically avoidant people they're avoidant, ethical avoidant are over here. Other people are not evil. Other people just can't be trusted because they get stressed out. I just want to keep a distance between me and them so we're safe. And so they never get the bonding chemicals that they need. They never experience that real love and connection because they're nervous, they're worried. They're ethical, but they still avoid. What are they avoiding? Well, it's not danger. They're not afraid. They're not cowards, but they are avoiding risk. They're avoiding risk that has no benefit. They don't know the benefits of a healthy, loving relationship. They haven't experienced oxytocin bonding before. Okay? Really, really big difference. They haven't experienced it. Women who are avoidantly attached have not experienced emotional intimacy. So they function almost more like a man does, and they act almost more like a man in relationships because they keep everyone at arm's length. Their sexuality is different. Their behaviors are different. Everything is quite a bit different, and they avoid that intimate connection quite a bit more. This is why avoidantly attached people, this is what they do. They don't understand the depth of it. You guys have seen on Twitter, right, guys? Well, what are you asking the woman? What do you bring to the table, right? And the argument is that women are only bringing sex to the table, but what they don't understand is that women are bringing often emotional intimacy, emotional connection, conversation, oxytocin, serotonin, GABA, all the brain chemicals that come from a thriving, intimate, emotionally intimate, bonded, talkative relationship. They don't realize that that's the piece. You see a lot of avoidantly attached men saying, what do you even bring to the table except a bunch of emotions, right? So again, ethical avoidant. Other people just are not in command of their emotions. Other people cannot be trusted for that reason. I don't hate them. I'm not going to control them, but I will get my needs met, and I'll be on the surface about everything. Ethically avoidant people either stay away from relationships, or they're very clear that they pretty much just want a casual relationship. They may get involved in a little bit of a deeper relationship, but they're very cautious about it. They try to be fair. They're more likely to hold their tongue and not say something than they are to lie. Okay, ethically avoidant people typically don't lie. They don't want to, and they try to avoid it. I've seen them. I've done couples therapy for many, many years, and I do couples coaching. And I have an avoidant person, and the other partner, the male or female partner, will say, "Well, what do you think about this part of me or this part of a relationship?" And I see them. They're like, and they like twitch a little bit, and they go, and they're scanning frantically for the right words that will prevent the other person from having an emotional escalation. So every word has to be tactically chosen to be safe for the situation to prevent an escalation. So they're like, and the other person sees it as like they're trying to manipulate me, they're trying to control me, they're going to lie. And the person's trying as hard as they can not to lie, but they're also afraid of the escalation. I've seen men and women both do this in coaching sessions when they're avoidant. This is an ethical avoidance. So if you see your ethical avoidant go, when you're asking them a question, they are trying to tell you the truth, typically, but in a way that's not going to escalate you because they don't trust you not to escalate because everybody else has escalated on them. If that's making sense. Go. Selective sharing. There you go, Sahara. Yeah, selective sharing. Very often, it's control the flow of information versus the manipulative person is more likely to lie. They're like, hey, you would lie, you would do things and get away with it if you could. You would do this if you could. You would do this if this, you could. You would do this. You would do this. You would do this. So I'm only going to do this. That's not as bad as what you would do. Manipulative avoidant. They're the ones likely to gaslight. Yeah, that's not how it happened. Nah, you're just crazy. Nah, that's stupid. Okay. They're the ones who are going to stonewall. You know what? I'm not even having this conversation with you. Nope. You know what? We're done. We're done here. I'm not interested. Nope. You know what? No, thank you. Okay. They're the ones who are more likely to love bomb you on purpose, knowing that it's going to get you hooked, knowing that they're going to turn it around in the future. Okay. They are more likely the ones who are going to do more hurtful things or cheat on you. Okay. Ethically avoidant people, I'll be honest with you, they don't cheat anywhere near as often as the manipulatively avoidant people do. They sometimes still do. And frankly, other people, anxiously attached people can cheat too. Disorganized people can cheat too. It's not just avoidant people who cheat. But of the spectrum, ethically avoidant people are more likely to break up with you if they feel that driven to cheat. In fact, this is what drives most ethically avoidant people to break up with you, is you get in the relationship, 6 months of novelty dopamine. Wow, that's new. You're new. Those are new. Hey, that's new. This is fun. And then that wears off at 5 or 6 months. And they're like, well, I don't want to just like drop you. Maybe we can try to figure out how to make this work, but I'm not really happy or excited anymore. While meanwhile, the other person is pushing for intimacy, pushing for commitment, pushing for a deeper connection, pushing to move in together, pushing, and not wrongly so. I mean, it's normal expectations, but it feels like pushing for diminished returns. You're asking for more while in their eyes, providing less. They're receiving less. And they know that's not right. They'll ethically avoidant people will say, well, I don't know. You're doing great. I don't understand. And ethically avoidant men and women come into my coaching practice and say, I should feel more for this person than I do. They're really good. I don't understand why I don't. It's because they don't understand how to oxytocin bond. They don't understand how to oxytocin bond. So this is the difference. Okay? Because manipulatively avoidant people will start telling you it's your fault. I don't know. You're just not doing it for me anymore. Something must be wrong with you. I don't know. Maybe you're just not as hot as I thought. Why don't we do something fun? If you really cared about me, you would make sure that I'm having a good time. They start making it your problem. They start trying to introduce other things that you might even not even enjoy into the relationship. They start pressuring you with tactics to introduce things or even other people into the bedroom to try to make it spicier and fun for them. They override many of your objections because they say, I'm giving you everything. Why are you doing this to me? They will count the cost tremendously against you. And they'll start stacking up. Well, I pay all these bills, so you owe me everything else. Okay? Ethical avoidant people are usually very concerned about what's fair. And they will try to be fair to you because they understand how much it hurts to have someone be arbitrary and unfair to them. So they try to be fair. Doesn't mean they always are. I'm not here to paint ethically avoidant people as saints because they're not. They're humans. And they are driven by a fear of getting trapped, of getting exploited, of having arbitrary people take control over them. They're driven by that. But they understand the pain at the same time. So they're trying to spare other people from that, right? Ethical. This is why I call them ethical avoidant. This is why I make the distinction, okay? Ethical avoidant. They will try to be fair with you. Someone says over in chat, they'll distance themselves. They'll say that you're too good. Yes, sometimes they will. They'll say, you know what? You are too good for me. There's something different here. It feels good and I don't want to hurt you. So before we go any further, I can see that this is hurting you and you're bonding very tightly with me. I don't know how to make that work. I don't think I can give you what you're looking for. Why don't we just call it here? They don't feel the deep connection that you do, and they don't even know how much that breakup hurts, but they actually are trying to be ethical. Now, manipulatively avoidant people, you're just too good for me. Why don't you just go? No, you know what? It's fine. It's not me. It's you. Just go. They might even say similar words, but the tone and the feel is very, 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 very different. Okay? Ethically avoidant people are the ones that you can solve problems with. They might be scared, but if you can get them to the table and say, this is when I built my How to Love an Avoidant Man video course, okay? It's designed to use with ethically avoidant people. the ones who will be honest with you, the ones who are nervous, but when you speak their language and start communicating with them in that risk-based language, when you start sharing your needs with measurably with them so that they can see the investment level, when you regulate your own emotions so that they don't feel overwhelmed, they can calm down, when you bring their stress level down so that they can start experiencing oxytocin bonding with you. That's what that course is built for, the How to Love an Avoidant Man video course. It's on my website, adamlanesmith.com. You guys know that. I launched it last month. Like thousands of you guys bought it. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I've seen your reviews. I know that it's working. So thank you guys. But those are the people, men and women, that program can work with, that you can work with, that you can talk to them. You can work with an ethical avoidant person. Because when you get into a conversation, they go, okay, I'm willing to have this conversation. And then you talk and they're like, but if you start communicating like, okay, here's a risk and I'm not going to attack you for this. We're going to solve it together. Let's manage this together. Share with me your side first. And you give them that curiosity. You let them speak. They'll tell you, and you'll see that they're trying to kind of manage you, and so you don't escalate. And if you just say, hey, it's okay. I'm not going to escalate. I'm not going to get mad. Let's really solve this. As you start solving it, they're like, wow. They'll actually say at the end of it, wow, this was actually better than I thought it was going to go. Yeah, awesome. That begins a process called vasopressin bonding. You guys have seen, I've got 7 videos for vasopressin bonding here. Men have more receptors for it than women do. Here's what's fascinating. Avoidantly attached men and women, because they haven't oxytocin bonded. The research shows out of the Kinsey Institute, the research shows that when you don't have oxytocin supply throughout much of your life, those oxytocin receptors shift to receive vasopressin instead. So you are now overprimed for vasopressin bonding. Enormously important. It's like a dry forest waiting for a match. Okay? So when somebody comes along who solves conflict with you, massive bonding. This is where you become that ethically avoidant person's first true love in their life, because you are actually working with them calmly, with discipline, to solve problems together with them. You're the first person who hasn't made their life harder. If you can make their life easier, this is what they're actually looking for, you guys. This is what an ethical avoidant person is looking for. Now, a manipulative avoidant person is not looking for you to help them with their life. They're looking to make their life easier, perhaps at your expense. And they might compensate you with some good feelings temporarily, but they're looking to solve you as a problem. You become a tool to solve their problem. This sounds like sociopathy. It's not, although off that side of the spectrum is sociopathy. Okay, avoidant attachment style, manipulative off that side of the spectrum can become narcissistic personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, even avoidant personality disorder. But the controlling, manipulative, sociopathic ones off the spectrum. Okay, ethical avoidant begins here, and as you accrue more and more hurtful narcissistic traits and hateful beliefs toward other people, you accrue more and more of those manipulative traits. I don't mean accrue them across the course of your life. I mean accrue them throughout childhood, because of experiences. Okay. Now you can accrue some wounding as an adult and get worse, but typically that ethical avoidant person is formed, in late teens, really, they start really forming that. By adulthood, you're ethically avoidant or you're manipulatively avoidant. I don't usually see too many people flip unless it's a horrible, horrible traumatic experience. Okay. Typically. This is what we're looking at. And I see people in the chat asking about FA, fearful avoidant. That's a whole different classification spectrum, right? Here we go avoidant, anxious, disorganized. Disorganized is the blend of the two, meaning cannot be organized into either. You've got ethical avoidant and manipulative avoidant. You've got nurturing anxious and toxic anxious over here. You've got quiet disorganized, which almost nobody ever knows about. And you've got loud disorganized. Then you've got secure and... you guys remember? Yeah. All right. I'll say it. I'll say it another time. If you remember it, put it in chat what the other one is. But these are the 8 attachment styles. Dismissive, avoidant. That's what this would be called, avoidant over here. I'm separating avoidant into 2. Ethical avoidant, manipulative avoidant. Remain secure. Sahara, you got it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you. Love it. Okay. This is avoidant, you guys. I will tell you, some of my best friends on the planet are pretty ethical avoidant people. Now, Yes, I am. I'm helping them become more secure. Yes, obviously, it's the perks of being my friend. But they have begun, and they have many of the good traits of an ethical avoidant person. An ethically avoidant person brings tremendous value to the lives of those around them when they choose to bond with them. And even once they become secure, they can retain some of the critical thinking, the risk assessment, the focus on tactical thinking. They can bring many of those traits into great circumstances to help the people. There's research to indicate that avoidant attachment may actually be really beneficial for the group if the group can bond with the avoidant person and the avoidant person can bond with the group. If they can bond together, then that avoidant person's risk assessment thinking works for the group, and the group can nurture that avoidant person by giving them the oxytocin bonding, the serotonin, the GABA, the vasopressin, everything they need to become remade secure. That's all right, you got it. And form a loving relationship together. Okay? This is the point. This is the point. That's how ethical avoidant and manipulative avoidant are different. You probably cannot form functioning relationships with manipulatively avoidant people. This is why I have called them manipulatively avoidant people. This is why. It's because they use manipulation tactics against you, they leverage things against you, and they make you do what they want. Okay? They deny your dignity. They don't allow you to make choices. They remove your freedom so that they can enjoy greater freedom and greater pleasure. Again, it sounds like sociopathy. Not all of them are full sociopaths. Not all of them. They are not. That's a whole extreme. But you accrue more and more sociopathic tendencies as you begin to hate other people, as you begin to truly fear other people, as you view other people hardcore negatively, if that makes sense. Okay? This is the difference. So you guys ask me all the time, how can I tell if I can work with my avoidant person? If they exhibit the ethical traits, if they exhibit some empathy, if they exhibit the ability to be concerned about the rights and freedom and dignity of others, if they try not to lie, if they are willing to sit and have a conversation with you, even if it makes them feel like their skin is being peeled off, if they at least try to understand you during a conflict, if they at least try to listen to you, okay? If they don't use naked manipulation tactics against you, hardcore, right? Shutting you down, accusing you of things. I've seen plenty of female manipulative avoidants use all the labels that they throw all over TikTok. You're a narcissist, you're a gaslighter, you're abusive, you're toxic, you're this, you're that. And they use those labels against people who are not, because it's like outdrawing the other cowboy, right? You use labels to attack, 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 attack. If somebody says every single one of my exes was a narcissist, odds are pretty good that person has manipulative avoidant attachment style or very, very loud, disorganized attachment style. Typically, if everyone they've ever met is an evil, horrible narcissist and all they want to do is talk about how they want to shoot those people in the head, odds are good that they are the problem. Okay, there's something called a problem saturated story. I was a therapist for many, many years. There's a therapy modality called narrative therapy. I loved narrative therapy. I still do. Narrative therapy talks about how you tell your story. A problem saturated story is everything is a problem, everything is bad. I am the perpetual victim, everyone else is the problem. Manipulatively avoidant people often will talk this way. Okay, they often will talk this way. So do toxically anxious people. Toxic anxious also talks in a continuous problem saturated story while blaming everybody else. I did everything for them and they never cared about me. Okay. These are the bad behaviors that we desperately need to avoid. And if somebody is acting that way, get away from them. Okay, flat out. But if you have an ethical avoidant person, or if you are an ethically avoidant person, I know you guys are out there too. And ladies, I know that you're out there as well. You can build wonderful relationships because the piece that's missing isn't empathy. The piece that's missing isn't a conscience. The piece that's missing isn't even the desire to connect. The piece that's missing is the absolute non-knowledge, the inexistent knowledge that it's possible to connect deeper than you ever have. Okay? Can they be a little bit of both manipulative and ethical? Yeah, so it's a spectrum, right? As they accrue more and more bad behaviors, more and more negative beliefs toward other people, more and more wounding in childhood, more and more of that, they can go off the manipulative spectrum and become more and more manipulative. Yes, they can. They can be in the middle. They can be, half ethical, half manipulative. And you can do that. I would call them a half manipulative, probably not a half ethical, right? So if you take a glass of water and dump some sewage in it, you don't have a glass of half water, half sewage. You have a glass of sewage. So the more and more sewage that's in there, the more and more that you have to classify them as very, very manipulative. But it's a spectrum, okay? It's not like you are perfect and a saint or you are a monster. We're not following that dichotomy. Can't be kind of pregnant. Well, there you go, Sahara. Leslie, glad that you're here. Welcome, welcome. Adriana, also glad that you're here. Welcome, welcome. Glad you're here. All right, guys, this is how you distinguish ethical avoidant from manipulative avoidant, okay? If you have more questions on this, drop them in the chat, drop them in the comments. I know thousands of you, and again, thank you, thousands of you are going to watch this replay. If you have an ethical avoidant person in your life, check out my How to Love an Avoidant Man video course. It's available on my website, adamlanesmith.com. It's in the description below. It's blasted all across my social medias everywhere. Pick up your copy. Watch it with your ethical avoidant partner. Watch it and then talk to them about it, right? Have those conversations. You can fix relationships with ethically avoidant people so long as they're willing to sit and have the conversations with you, right? They're some of the best, most loving people on the planet once you actually build that with them. But not all avoidant people can be built with, okay? Not all avoidant people can be built with. Many avoidant people, again, guys, some of my best friends on the planet are wonderful, ethical avoidant people who would never in a million years harm somebody else. Okay, so this crap on the internet about how avoidant people are evil, nah, absolutely garbage. Absolute garbage. Now, manipulative avoidant people absolutely are problems. Okay. But ethically avoidant people, in my experience, make up the vast majority of avoidant people. So they want to live and let live, and they don't want you to explode with emotions and make your feelings their problem. So managing your own emotions, step one. Working with an ethically avoidant partner. Number one, regulate your own emotions, not for their sake, but for your sake. Okay? Do not explode with feelings all over them and say, I need to feel loved, and then never explain what makes you feel loved. Learn that. Number two, learn to speak in a risk assessment language, right? Measurable needs. What, why, how often? What do you need to feel loved? Why is that important to you? What is that going to do for the relationship? How often do you need that thing? Okay. Special ed doc. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Finally caught one of these lives. So it's very generous with this time, wisdom, and resources. Thank you. Please accept this donation. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. That is very, very kind of you. I really appreciate that. All right, here's what I'm going to do. You guys, I turn on members only chat. You members, you support my channel. I support you right back. And I want to make sure that I answer your questions. So this is the portion where I call it micro coaching. You hit me with your questions. If it's a question about your relationship, I'm here to help. I'm here to give some advice. If you have questions about this topic, about avoiding people, I'm here to answer that. All of you with green names and little stars right by your name, you are members who pay and support this channel. And again, thank you so much. I could not do this without you. If you want to be a member and ask questions, there should be a button right down here somewhere on the bottom that says join. Click that. You can hit support the channel. You can join the inner circle. All of those perks are available. I'm here to answer your questions. So members, hit me with your questions tonight. What do you have? What's going on in your relationships, or what do you need to know about avoidant people, especially this difference between ethical and manipulative? Hit me with that. Reading your past comments, selective retelling. Selective telling is exactly it. That's it. That's the game. What questions do you guys have? Because I'm here to listen to them and ask them. Ethically avoidant people are, like I said, when you actually break through their armor. Here's what's fascinating. Many of them have never experienced an oxytocin bond with another human being before. They've been seeking intimacy. They've been seeking... What is the right way to put this? Here we go. Most ethically avoidant people are so flooded with cortisol that they're just always amped up. They can never calm down, relax, and unwind. I say it's like this. It's a man who goes out, fights all day, comes home in his bloody armor and his spear. He walks in, he He never takes his armor off or washes off the blood. He never lets his spear down. He walks in, kisses his wife and kids, walks over to the table, sits there, eats his dinner with one hand, walks over, sits on the couch, watches TV with his kids, puts his kids to bed, makes love to his wife, lays there all night in his armor and his spear like this bloody, and then he wakes up in the morning, brushes his teeth, eats breakfast, kisses his family goodbye, and goes to work. He never takes it all off because he's never learned to bond through oxytocin, get the GABA he needs to relax, the melatonin is in there too, vasopressin bonding, serotonin connections. He's never learned to get those in relationships, so he's just endlessly riding that cortisol wave. All he can do to calm down is dopamine binge. Or not. He disciplines himself not even to do that. So that's what fixing the avoidant attachment style does, is it gives you a peace mode to go with your war mode. I work with a lot of special forces, by the way, and their wives. And special forces guys don't have an off mode. So we have to teach them to build the off mode. It's a selective off mode when they're with family. Ana Blue, thank you so much for supporting the channel. I appreciate you. If you have questions, please drop them in chat. This is your time. You're going to have questions. You're going to have that all month long. So for that one membership, when you pop in like that once a month, you have all month long priority chat, priority comments, priority all of this. And yes, these members only chat. So glad you're here. Adriana, how much or little is needed for a DA to consider someone a drama queen? From today's viewpoint, my ex was not dramatic, but my DA's his lack of gentleness when talking and a slight lack of trust made me perceive every problem we were discussing as him being drama queen. Yes, so keep in mind that many, what we call dismissive avoidant, in their DA is what you're saying, but avoidant, ethical avoidant, manipulative avoidant, a manipulative avoidant, anything is going to make them think you're too much, because everything is an endless balance between, are you giving me dopamine and making me feel good, or giving me cortisol and making me feel bad? It's an endless ride between the two. And they resent you for cortisol, and they don't love you necessarily for the dopamine, but they like circle on it. Ethically avoidant people, they'll be considerate. They think that other people are dysregulated, but they look at other people almost like a bird with a broken wing. They feel sorry for them. They try to help. They're like, well, you're doing that thing. Okay, you're having feelings. Let's see if we can get through it. Let's see if you'll be reasonable. If you'll work with them, they usually can tolerate it. So every avoidant person has a different threshold, but regulating yourself, even telling them, hey, I'm trying to regulate myself, I'm going to take ownership, that can bring it down. If you are endlessly just going, always having feelings and then demanding that they soothe it, not going to work. Not going to work. What are the characteristics of a manipulative avoidant? I went over that pretty extensively during this video, but very quickly, they have a very negative view of other people. They view other people as actually bad or harmful, and they tend to have very little sympathy for them or empathy, so they can justify what they do to other people. They will use manipulation tactics that deny your right to choose or your ability to interact or make decisions for yourself. The stonewall, gaslight, love bomb, they do all of those things, and they don't feel terribly bad about moving on, cheating on you. They'll always have a justification for what they did, and it's usually that you did something wrong. So most of the avoidantly attached people, again, they're not sociopaths, but it is sliding in that way. Most of them are ready and willing to use those tactics against you when they feel stressed out, which is quite often. So, and again, that is not representative of the majority of avoidant people. Sarah, what can I do if he refuses to experience any oxytocin activity? I suggest to grab a drink and watch a movie together. He said he only likes watching movies alone. Would rather do activities like playing sports or having an active conversation. Well, you know what? Having an active conversation actually can be a very good oxytocin bonding experience. So makes sense. The slower ones that you're talking about, his nervous system is probably not going to be able to do right away. A lot of women are like, no, sit with me, snuggle me, cry with me. And the guy's like, that's way too much, way too fast. Okay. Think of like if you're domesticating a wolf from the forest, if you try to wrap your arms around him like a drunk octopus and smother him in a blanket, he's going to think you're trying to kill him. So don't treat him like a puppy yet, but do the other things. He's asking you, hey, sports, hey, let's have a conversation. Let's do these other bonding activities. Engage in those other things with him, drive that, and then say, can we make a trade? I will do this with you, and you will do this with me. Make that trade, but don't run away from the things he tells you he wants to do for bonding. He's telling you the secret. Lean into it. Adriana, makes sense. I saw this as dysregulated and bitter. Yes. And that is what most avoidant people see, like anxiously attached people as in particular. I have a whole series on this channel, you guys, why anxiously attached women are toxic for avoidant men. That video series makes women enraged, anxiously attached women, makes them enraged because they think I'm demonizing anxiously attached women. But what I'm doing is showing them what avoidant men think of them. I tried to show in that series what avoidant men perceive and avoidant women perceive anxious people as. And they say, this is borderline personality disorder. Well, yes, that's how avoidantly attached people see anxious people, is as borderline personality disorder. They see it to that extent. Okay. So the best thing you can humanly do if you're in a relationship with an avoidant person is make sure that you are regulating your own emotions. Again, for your own sake, it'll improve your quality of life, but do that first because they can calm down. They can feel comfortable in your presence. They know that they don't have to manage you. Dana, there you are. I've experienced that my ex, fearful avoidant, what we would call disorganized here, has become weirdly codependent since we started living together as just friends. Okay. So they are your ex, disorganized style, fearful avoidant, living together. Now they're massively codependent on you. What's your experience with avoidance and codependent? So avoidant people are never codependent, but fearful avoidant people are a blend of anxious and avoidant. It's what's called disorganized. Absolutely, codependence is massive for disorganized style. It is massive. Remember that disorganized style, or what you've called fearful avoidant, I'm with you. That is based on extensive wounding in childhood, where one attachment style was not enough. So usually they pick up anxious style first, and then that's not enough. So they armor up with avoidant style on top of that. And that wasn't enough. So they experience this pain. So it's a constant push, pull, push, pull, push, pull. And that codependence allows them to gain some power and leverage in the relationship. Not that they're trying to manipulate and use and hurt you, but the control makes them feel safe. So if they can get under you and get you feeling good of them and approving of them, and then get some leverage where they're taking care of you, then they can feel a sense of control in their environment by caretaking, if that makes sense. Again, not to demonize, but it's when they get stressed, this is what they do. My girlfriend / FA, disorganized style here, okay, had not shown any signs aside from secure, slight anxious till she got pregnant. Then the avoidant came out, when will she switch back? Vic Masker, how long were you together before she got pregnant? Because you can hold a lot of that in for the first 7 to even 12 months. 7 to 9 months typically. Francis, would they do guilt trips, make passive aggressive comments? Mine would cry and ask if they were a bad person. It was like an emotional roller coaster. Yes, manipulative avoidant people can, although not typically. Typically, that's a lot more of the loud, disorganized type, very loud, disorganized type, but sliding even more into like personality disorder territory. For example, male borderline personality disorder, very often they will blow up on you, explode, yell, scream, treat you like you're garbage, and then have periods where they plunge into absolute self-loathing. And then they do what's called coercive soothing, where you have to soothe them and comfort them. No, you're not bad. You're fine. You're great. No, it's wonderful. Or then they go into an angry punishing mode. So you're coerced into soothing them. I've seen that. Okay. Not too long. Hey, I have BPD. Spent many years focused on regulating my emotions, developing healthy coping skills. Got under control. Constant work in progress. I hear you, Sahar. I worked extensively with borderline personality disorder. So at my last clinic, I was actually the cleanup crew when somebody was so massively severe with borderline personality disorder that they would wash out of the dialectical behavioral therapy program. For example, from biting other patients. And they would say, we are going to ban you from life from this clinic unless Adam is willing to work with you, because Adam has a weird gift to work with people who have borderline. And so I would, on a case-by-case basis, selectively take on the absolute most extreme examples of borderline personality disorder, and I would help. And sometimes we were able to work on it, and sometimes the person absolutely was not. They were there to get an agenda. They were there to comfort themselves. They were not there to actually do anything to get better. So you know what? My heart is out there for individuals like that. I will say that a self-diagnosing and a self-identifying borderline very usually is not. It's usually disorganized attachment style, what we call loud disorganized, what some people call baby BPD or quiet BPD is really disorganized attachment style. It hasn't fully overtaken the personality. It is something that spikes during times of stress, and especially in the most intimate relationships. Vic Massacre, not too long, but we planned it. Yeah, you weren't together very long. You planned the pregnancy, and then all of a sudden she exploded into massive, massive disordered problems. There was definitely something there. Um, Definitely something there. So I can't say she will go back. You might be seeing her actual legitimate self. Remember that we don't typically, with attachment issues, we don't see a person's legitimate self for the first 7 to 12 months. Usually 7 to 9 months is usually fake because the novelty dopamine is there. The people are faking a lot of it. You don't really experience that in secure relationships. Secure people tend not to fake it for the first 7 months. Not that everything's perfect and clear, but they don't have that fake honeymoon period for secure relationships typically. That's much more of a feature of the attachment problems, the insecure attachment styles. Sarah, is it true that avoidant women tend to stay single for quite a long time? My female avoidant friend never had any boyfriend, but guys tend to have a few relationship history from their avoidant. Um, well, in my experience working with avoidant women, sometimes they have no boyfriends. Sometimes they have had one boyfriend. Sometimes they have only pretty much had numerous hookups, but they run away the moment a man is actually very interested in them. So it can take a number of different forms. Excuse me. I need a mute button, but I'm using my laptop mic. I need a special microphone just for this. That's what I think. So avoidant women can take on numerous different traits with their sexuality in that capacity. I've seen it. I've seen it many different ways. Sometimes an avoidant woman will get married. I've worked with plenty of couples where they come in where the woman is avoidantly attached. They don't know why she doesn't have the emotional intimacy and the desires for emotional intimacy. The man is complaining that they don't have enough emotional intimacy. She doesn't get it, and plenty of times I've had couples like that come in. Adriana, I'm confused. Can an FA not be codependent, or can a DA have anxious thoughts but not act on them in an AP way? This makes me think I never went from DA to. Okay, so let's separate that out, Adriana. You're using that grading scale on attachment styles. I use the other one, which is, and then I've updated the other one. So it's anxious, general anxious, what you would call preoccupied anxious PA, but anxious. Okay, this is turn inward. There is something wrong with me. I am the problem. Inferiority complex. I am the issue. I am unworthy of love. I have to earn approval from others or I will be abandoned. Okay. Just avoidant, what some people would call dismissive avoidant. Okay. The problem is not me. The problem is other people, right? On that sliding spectrum, everything we've talked about today. The problem is other people. I have to stay safe from other people and I can't go into open conflict with them because no one will ever be fair with me. Then we have what's called disorganized. Cannot be neatly organized in either type. What some people would call fearful avoidant. Okay, FA. I am the problem on the inside, but also other people are the problem. It's both. It's a blend of both, usually flipping back and forth based on the audience or the person that they're connecting with at the time. Okay, if they're with an anxious person, they become avoidant. If they're with an avoidant person, they become anxious. If they're with a secure person, they usually become anxious. So those are the styles that I tend to see. That's the disconnection there, Adriana. Think of it that way. Okay. So the disorganized type will have codependence, just like the anxious type will. The avoidant type, purely avoidant, will not have codependent behaviors. Isabella St. Andrews, welcome in here. Adam, how long can men and women be expected to wait till marriage from a Christian perspective? What about those who are single in the late 20s and 30s? How long can they be expected to wait till marriage? I am very much in the camp that people should not have 8-year engagements. I am very much in the camp that people should be together. If you're together at 1 year and you still have no idea if you should get married, there's something wrong and you're not compatibility testing correctly. I have my dating method that I teach. Most people get married at 1 year, maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years maximum. But fairly quickly, and with purpose, right? So it really is dependent on your purpose and your drive there. So how I was diagnosed at 20 years old, originally diagnosed with major depressive disorder. Yeah, I hear you. No, I hear you. And I'm not taking it away, Sahar. I'm just saying, um, I wish they taught attachment theory in school. Here's the problem is they teach us in school attachment theory is for babies. You don't need to know it. And if it's an attachment issue in an adult, it is always a personality disorder. So if you come in with disorganized behaviors and you're reporting them and that they're reducing your life and making it very difficult, some clinicians will diagnose you with borderline personality disorder right there. And they told us in school, if you diagnose someone with borderline personality disorder and they actually have borderline personality disorder, they will probably scream in your face, get up, stomp out of the office, slam the door, and you'll never see them again. If they are like, wow, maybe that is me. Or if they come in and say, I think I have borderline personality disorder, odds are very, very, very good that they don't. This is what they told us extensively in schooling over and over and over again. Can there be people with borderline personality disorder who can gather insight and come through that? Oh, there can be. But by and large, that's the general rule that we've been taught extensively in graduate programs. And in my experience, it has mostly held true. Ain't a Blue, thank you for your answer. I just find it so weird. My ex FA is now asking me for help with a bunch of things when they don't usually ask for help at all. It's their way of reconnecting with you. Not sure if I should take it as a positive that they trust me to help them, or he's taking me for granted. It sounds like they're trying to find a way to connect with you and they don't know how. So they don't know how to just come out and say, hi. Our relationship dynamic makes me feel kind of uncomfortable. I'm not sure where we're at. I think I would like a little bit more connection with you, but I'm trying to feel comfortable in this by doing things for you or by asking you for things to kind of initiate this relationship piece. How do you feel? What would you like out of this relationship? If they could do that, then you probably wouldn't be broken up in the first place. Cyborg, do avoidant women take the risk? Do avoidant women take the risk-based language the same way men do? Oh, yeah. I never heard my ex speak to that as much. Cyborg, they can. Avoidantly attached women are typically risk-based as well. They may not fully go into it as much as men do. They may have a blend of emotional and risk-based language. Typically, they do, though, think in terms of risk. They think in terms of that. Typically. I would encourage you to ask if somebody does going into the future. Got it. Definitely started as DA, went slightly FA. Yeah, that happens, Adriana. Sometimes we can pick up wounding as we connect with really bad partners, really toxic partners. You can pick up additional wounding and become sort of like a functionally disorganized where you accrue some other traits of the other style. Vic Massacre, how much can anxiety and depression feed into attachment style? Other way around. Other way around. So as you are disconnected from other people, especially in childhood, disconnected from other people, you feel alone, you feel isolated, like no one's ever going to help you. Now you're exposed, you're vulnerable. Anxiety rockets up through the sky, okay? Because your oxytocin's low, therefore your GABA's low. GABA suppresses cortisol, helps you reduce anxiety. It also fights depression. Depression is way more likely, especially as you start to feel hopeless, helpless, like no one's ever going to assist you. You're stuck, you're frustrated, you're miserable. Learned helplessness kicks in. Anxiety and depression, I believe, stem largely from attachment issues, especially if it's like a lifetime kind of feeling. Trying to learn as much as possible. Vic, I would recommend you go back and watch my earlier video on this channel called, is it The Surprising Link Between Attachment Issues and Mental Health Disorders? Go back and watch that video here on this channel. You'll love it. Diane, please answer. Please answer what? I haven't seen anything pop up, and you are bright orange, so I wouldn't miss it. I'm scrolling back. The only thing I see from you is hi, Adam, way back when. And I do not have any other messages from you, Diane. If you've got something else, let me know. Put it in there, and I'll definitely answer. I just have to see it. I don't see anything. Does anybody else see Diane's other message? Did I miss something? I'm scrolling around. I haven't seen it. If you guys could let me know. Vic, I identified as secure but felt a bit anxious when my boyfriend started distant in our situation. I've been giving him space for almost a month. I'm scared to push to reform the relationship, trying to figure out the best way to approach. I have found the best way to approach, if the person is going to work with you, is to say, hey, you know what? Clear statement of goal. I would love to build a better relationship with you. I don't really know how to do that. So I'd like to sit with you and talk about, what does that look like for you? Do you want a better relationship? And if so, what would help it improve? Let's talk about this together and let's build a good relationship together. Statement of goal, statement of need for assistance, and then open the floor with curiosity to have a conversation. Make sense? Nope, me neither. I haven't seen anything. Okay, Diane, my avoidance says he doesn't know when I asked him if we're going together or not. He doesn't know. Oh, so you asked him, are we going together? Are we together? And he says, I don't know. Okay. Well, it sounds like you need to clearly define, what does that mean to you? What does that mean? What does it mean if you are together as a couple? What does the official label look like? Does he want an official relationship? Is he looking for an actual official relationship? If so, what does it look like? If so, what threshold do you have to cross to get there? Right? It sounds like you guys need to make it measurable. If he says, I don't know, if he's legitimately saying, I don't know, then it sounds like, what do you both want? What does it look like? And what's the threshold to cross to get there? Have that conversation. Make it very direct and clear and measurable, Diane. That's the right approach there. Vic Metzger, thank you. You're welcome. Becky Ellis, thank you so much for supporting the channel. I appreciate you. That is very kind of you. Wonderful, wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much. If you have a question, drop it below. I am going to get going. I have another client here in a couple of minutes, but I've still got another about 5 minutes with you guys. And remember that you get those questions all month long. So, Cyborg, can a physically abusive relationship lead Woken to becoming avoidant? What would a good way to approach in that case? She opened up to me about it before, but I was more emotional when addressing it. Can avoidant physically avoidant to become avoidant? Oh yeah, sure. So number one, trauma can come across as that's almost what avoidant behavior is a trauma response to human beings. Very similar. So yes, physical abuse can definitely lead to avoidant behaviors, but typically being in an abusive relationship, being susceptible to an abuser, staying in abusive relationships usually means you have some attachment issues yourself anyway, typically. So it usually begins as like an anxious style that then turns into a disorganized style because of the extra wounding. What would be a good way to approach it? Well, have them get some treatment for trauma, typically, because unless you're a trauma specialist, have them get some treatment for trauma. That's number one. And number two, ask them what things help them feel safe and loved in the relationship. So giving them the opposite experience. You don't have to become, as they say, a simp. You don't have to go all the way and make your life about catering to them, but you can and should have a conversation with them about what helps them feel loved, what helps them feel safe, what helps them feel cared for. Build that in. He says he's confused and he won't answer direct questions. Diane, it sounds like he's actively avoiding you on purpose. It's called weaponized incompetence. I don't know. It's weaponized incompetence is what it sounds like. So it sounds like you need to actually sit down and have a direct conversation. If he will not have a direct conversation, then that is your answer. No, you are not dating. No, you're not official. No, he does not want an official relationship. No, there is no threshold you can cross. That's the answer. My friend John Delaney, he says behavior is a language. So what is his behavior telling you? Francis, I walked on eggshells with my boyfriend for 10 years. When we broke up and got back together, one of the times he proposed, told his family and friends. But when we looked at rings, he freaked out. Yeah, pretty common. When it starts getting real, then they start freaking out because they don't understand the bonding. So they think that they're going into a completely stupid arrangement where they'll get nothing. And then they start thinking, oh my gosh, what am I doing? This is horrible. I'll never be happy again. And they freak out. I've coached tons of couples through premarital coaching where the avoidant partner, male or female, is freaking out because they don't think they'll ever be happy again. And they're sacrificing their happiness for life for you is what they think. Sarah, I think I'm anxious in romantic relationships. When it comes to friendships, I'm very avoidant. Is that normal? It can be. That sounds like the disorganized blend of the two, where you have an avoidant on the outside, but once somebody does crack your armor, you flip to an anxious on the inside. Sometimes that can be called quiet disorganized. I found that a number of times with high intelligence women who are conscientious and thoughtful of others, who have a sort of a secret low self-esteem on the inside, but keep everybody at arm's length, and they're very accommodating of other people. When their armor is cracked, they flip to that insecure part on the inside and try to please people. Typically, they don't collapse into it, but they'll do that. That's that quiet disorganized. Typically, is what I have found. Anna Blue, in your experience, when FA says he loves you but's not in love with you after being officially together, does it mean it's just deactivating? Yeah, it usually means that the dopamine is gone and they feel that you're getting very close and it's terrifying them. And they're also having an oxytocin phobic response. So they are having a phobic terror response to the oxytocin bonding, but also the dopamine has dwindled and died. And now they're trying to convince themselves they don't care about you so they can run screaming into the night. Typically is what that is. The only way to really fix that is for them to gain some self-awareness and then start questioning their own beliefs. Becky, there you are. My DS opened up to me in person. He never texts or communicates outside of in person. How do I not be anxious when it's inconsistent? He opens up to you in person. He doesn't text or communicate outside. How often are you actually together then? Because if you're only together once a month, that's a problem. If you're together every day, that's different. But one thing, Becky, you might want to look into is something called emotional impermanence. Emotional impermanence. So a baby has object impermanence. When they see a ring and it goes away, they go, oh, it's gone. And then poof, it's back. Oh, it still exists. That's called object permanence. Okay. Emotional impermanence is their love for me is right in front of me. They don't love me anymore. They're falling out of love with me right now. I know it. If I don't hear from them in 20 minutes, it's because they are out there. They found someone else. They're sleeping with someone else right now in a hotel room, probably because I'm scum. I don't even deserve love. I got a text back. Oh, they do love me. Right? That's emotional impermanence. So, Becky, you might want to look into that and also figure out maybe they're not giving you the connection you need. Maybe you need a little bit more connection than they're willing to give. Maybe they don't know that. Have you asked them? Have you let them know? There's a couple of complicating variables there. But there's a lot to think about there. Francis, my avoidant, we get something I've heard as the ick. He wouldn't just not feeling where he could barely put into words. It was like forcing himself to be. Yeah, Francis. So I remember I've coached a couple of couples now where the man, when he goes into his avoidant mode and he starts thinking about being with them and pressured into like getting married, he actively, like a woman will go from like a 9 out of 10 to like a 2 out of 10. And she is actively physically disgusting to him. And he's like, recoiling from her, and she looks like a forest troll. And then the moment he starts feeling calmer and better, like she's suddenly like gorgeous and he wants to have sex with her. I've worked with a number of couples where men have had that challenge. I've seen that. I've actually seen that plenty of times. Should I email my questions on the course and the circle group? Yeah, Leslie, by all means. Shoot me an email. All of you can do this. Email me at support@adamlanesmith.com. Support@adamlanesmith.com. I'm here to help. If you got questions, if you need to know more about my course, my support mentorship community, where we do 2 calls every single week, and I help you with relationship problems, teach you skills in there. I have coaching. I have my new retreat coming up at the end of this year. If there's anybody out there who enjoys going on retreats, I have the attachment immersion retreat where you can come learn in person with me and we can have these experiences together. I have that coming as well. I'm going to check out for the night, guys. I have another coaching client to go work with right now, and I am so grateful to all of you members who are supporting this channel. Thank you so much. For everybody watching this replay later, thank you. I appreciate you. And for all of you who came here tonight, thank you. I appreciate you, and I hope you learned something helpful for your relationships. I will see you again very soon. Take care of yourselves.